This meeting is now live.
Hello everybody and welcome to this North Herts District Council meeting. It's a virtual cabinet panel and community, and it's been conducted with members, officers and members of the public at various locations, communicating via audio, video and online. There's also the opportunity for the public and press to listen and view proceedings. Before the meeting starts, I would like to invite the committee member and scrutiny officer to take the roll call and confirm that members, officers and registered speakers are in attendance. Anna.
Thank you, Chair. Please note this meeting is being streamed live onto YouTube and recorded via Zoom. I'll undertake a roll call to ensure that members, officers and public can hear and be heard. So when I call your name, could you just indicate your attendance, please? Starting with members, Councillor Sam Collins.
Hello.
Hello. Councillor Judy Billing.
I'm here.
Thank you. Councillor Daniel Allen. Currently here. Councillor Ruth Brown.
Present.
Councillor Sarah Dingley.
Yeah, sorry, my camera doesn't seem to be working.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Jean Green.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Tony Hunter.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Mandy Tandy.
Present, thanks, Anna.
Thank you. And we have apologies from Councillor Kay Tart. Officers, Steve Crowley.
Yes, present.
Thank you. Claire Morgan.
Good evening, yes.
Danny Pearson.
Good evening.
And James Lovegrove. I know you're here, James. And Lewis Franklin is doing IT for us this evening. And speakers, we have Laura Butcher. Hello. And Samantha Hoff.
Hello.
Hello. And also we have young people, Kim. Is here from a Magic Theatre company.
Can I just mention, Kim's one of the directors of Magic Theatre.
Oh, sorry. Young looking.
She does look young and she's going to love me for that comment.
Thank you, Claire. Phoebe.
Here.
Thank you. Lauren.
Here.
Thank you. Lucy.
Here.
Thank you. Charlie.
Here.
Thank you. Flora.
Hello.
Hi. And Aaron.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you. I think that's everyone. Have I missed anyone off? Oh, sorry, Councillor Dennis Harburg. So sorry.
I'm just visiting anyway. Hello.
Hi. Thank you. Yeah, that's everyone, Chair. I'll hand back to Councillor Sam Collins to start the meeting proper. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Anna. For those who don't know me, I'm Councillor Sam Collins, as you just heard. I'm a Hitchin Highbury councillor, but I'm also the executive member for Enterprise, the Arts and Transport, which I like to call EAT, but I chair this meeting, this cabinet panel tonight. Now, I like to keep things as informal as possible and let as many people do the talking that aren't councillors as possible. It's more for us councillors to listen to what everybody else has got to say rather than us to pontificate on various issues ourselves. Having said that, I do have to deal with some formalities first. So I'm going to go as quickly as possible and start with apologies for absence. We have apologies, I know, from Councillors Tart and Albert. Are there any more? And Councillor Allen as well has just popped in his apology to me as well.
No more apologies.
No more apologies. Excellent. Then the next thing I'm being told we have to do is approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of July 2021. Any councillors who were there, it would be nice if we could do that. I have to say this. I would like to propose that we take as read and approve as a true record the minutes of the meeting of the Cabinet Panel on Community Engagement and Cooperative Development held on the 19th of July 2021. Can I have a seconder?
I would be absolutely delighted to second that very formal and rather boring proposition, Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Councillor Billing. And I guess we need to take that to a vote using the raise hand button. That's for the councillors only on this one. I shall vote that now.
Yes, we have enough votes for that to be carried, Chair.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna. A bit more formality, and now we can get stuck into the proper business of the evening. I have some announcements I have to make. In accordance with the council policy, this meeting is being audio recorded as well as filmed. The audio recordings will be available to view on mod.gov, and the film recording will be available via the NHDC YouTube channel. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest. You'd really be trying hard to have any in this meeting before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under the chair's announcements on the agenda. This meeting is about how North Herts District Council might better engage with young people. And I was a little bit worried coming into this meeting that it would be a bunch of old people talking about what young people need. So I'm very keen to hear from the young people, and rather less keen to hear from the not so young people, but everybody gets as much speaking right as everybody else. So welcome to everybody who is participating, however old you are. I have notification of other business. There is none. And now we move to public participation. And this is the main part of the meeting. But before we get into sort of a wider open floor discussion, we do have 2 presentations. But before we go to those, I'd just like to run through just a little bit of housekeeping on it. If you'd like to speak during the meeting in any of the sections, please use the raise hand button that's somewhere on your screen. If you're using the old version of Zoom like I am, it's under the participants section. If you're using a newer version, it's possibly located in the reactions section. And hopefully you all know how to use that stuff better than I do. But please raise your hands and then I'll call people to speak in turn. Everybody gets to speak, so don't feel backwards in coming forwards on it. And so with that all said, I would like to welcome the first of our presentations this evening, and it's Laura Butcher, who is the North Herts team leader of the Hertfordshire Service for Young People. Laura, I hand the floor over to you.
Great, thank you. So following that introduction, so I'm Laura Butcher. I own a new job title now, so I'm a youth work practice manager for HEC services for young people, and I've been asked to talk today about what services for young people offer, and more specifically how we support young people in North Herts. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about us as a service. We are the primary provider of youth work, information, advice and careers guidance for young people in Hertfordshire. We're a key contributor to the prevention, early intervention, early help agenda. Our service delivers targeted prevention and early intervention work to ensure that young people get help at the right time, ideally early on, to reduce the need for higher specialist interventions later. Through our quality and formal education opportunities, we promote young people's personal and social development and support young people in their successful transition to adulthood. As a county, we have 10 access points across the county, Hertfordshire. We've got one in Letchworth in North Herts. We have trained youth workers, personal advisors and employment and training advisors, and we're working throughout the community and in schools and colleges across the county. Next slide, please. So we have a youth work offer in each of the districts, which can change termly, reflecting on needs of young people. We target young people 11 to 17, but we do work with older young people in groups such as children looked after and those with learning disabilities. Our resources are targeted at priority groups in support of our targeted prevention and intervention agenda and working with vulnerable young people. Our programmes are delivered during term time, and we also deliver holiday programmes. So more recently, we've been involved in delivering the Happy programme, supporting the free school meals agenda, and we delivered 2 programmes in North Herts in the summer. So throughout our work, we're always aiming to show and demonstrate outcomes and impacts from our work with young people and how that's supporting them. Next slide, please. So how that looks for us currently in North Herts, we have a youth council, which we're going to come on a little bit more later on. We have a wellbeing project targeting supporting young people that have got mental ill health or need some support. We have a number of street-based projects, so that's about working with young people in their environment rather than expecting them to come into building-based provision. We have a number of targeted prevention early intervention projects, Royston and Letchworth, and also Westmoor and Hitchin. And we recently started an LGBT plus group in North Herts, and we have a young parents group that covers both North Herts and Stevenage area. Next slide, please, or the next couple of slides. So the next couple of slides is just our youth work off with a bit more information about the days of the week that it's on. If you go to next slide, and how to then refer into our projects or to engage in our youth projects. So next slide as well, so just quick ones. That's it, next slide, thank you. So in addition to our youth work offer, we also have other targeted programmes that we offer to young people locally, which could be one-to-one work as well as group work, sort of targeting young people at risk of sexual exploitation or criminal exploitation, sort of at risk of getting involved in gangs. We also support young people that are not in education, employment or training, and supporting them with opportunities and getting into employment and training. We also have a more targeted wellbeing project called Supporting You, which teaches young people CBT techniques to help them deal with their mental health. Next slide, please. So in terms of youth engagement, how we engage young people, services for young people, it's core to the work that we do, really, youth engagement. We're a voluntary relationship engagement with young people. So if young people come to our projects because they want to be engage, it's important that we listen to what young people want to gain from engaging in our project and how we can support them through their journey with working with us. Our projects and curriculum programmes are outcome focused and co-produced with young people. So that means we work with young people to help develop our programmes and also seek feedback from young people as to what went well and any changes we need to make, and take that on board when we perhaps go forward to deliver that programme again. As a service, we also seek to engage the wider voice of young people through regular surveys with young people and other engagement activities throughout the year. And also our youth strategy partnership groups, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more now. Next slide, please. So our youth strategy partnership groups are made up of local service providers, stakeholders who work together very strategically and operationally with young people, identifying need of what's needed in the offer, or what's needed as a youth offer for the district. So not just what services for young people deliver, but what other services as a whole deliver for young people across the North Herts district. And we have an action plan that we work to and review, and we look at emerging needs and trends, issues affecting young people. It's about sharing information across agencies, understanding what needs they are, what the gaps are. So that's just a couple of examples. And those that attend that meeting are North Herts District Council, we've got schools attending, the ESC, police, college, the Sports Partnership, Herts Young Homeless Mind. So anyone that works in the local area that has delivers directly to young people are invited to be part of that meeting. Next slide, please. So North Herts Youth Council, so we've got a couple of members here today that's going to talk a little bit at the end of my presentation, but we meet once a week in Letchworth, but it's open to young people across the North Herts area. Young people come together to discuss and look at local issues of concern, and also their role is to attend and engage in the Youth Strategy Partnership Group meetings, to feed information up to that group, but also to attend those meetings to take any actions away from that group where they want more of a focus from young people, or for them to do a bit of research or find out information to feed back to that group as well. And throughout our work, it's focusing on young people's personal and social development as part of that. We use something called the Outcome Star, which helps measure young people, their engagement in our service, where they started and where they want to move to through their work with us. Next slide, please. So moving forward, our sort of like focus for our youth council is about increasing the number of young people attending the youth council, but also the wider participation of those young people engaging, sort of targeting young carers, children looked after, or young people from the LGBT plus community. Also engaging or increasing engagement with young people in the Youth Strategy Partnership Group's action plan. And more locally, the young people are currently focusing on body image and the impact of COVID-19 on young people's wellbeing. So for the next slide, please. And that sort of takes me on to introduce Charlie and Lucy, who are here this evening as representatives of the Youth Council, and they're just going to talk a little bit about what we have been doing recently at Youth Council linked to body image. So I'll hand over to Lucy and Charlie.
Thanks, Laura. So recently we've been running a body image research project, and we've been conducting this research through an online survey, which we sent out to many of the local schools. We started doing this research after the youth strategy group fed back to us and asked us to look at how COVID-19 had impacted young people's well-being and especially their body image. So through the survey, we found that COVID-19 has definitely impacted young people's body image in a negative way, along with other factors like social media. And another thing that our survey found was that some young people felt that there isn't enough support within schools for people who are struggling with body image. Lucy?
So we are going to write a report on this, and once we have written our report, we're going to share these outcomes with the Youth Strategy Partnership Group, as well as other relevant bodies to seek further support. We're also planning to write to local schools about what support they already have in place for students needing help. In the report, we're going to add recommendations for how we feel young people can be supported in their body image. We're also going to look at practical ways we can make change in our local community to address this need. This could be publicising local services or identifying any gaps, promoting positive body image through social media campaign. Thank you.
Thank you both. Yeah, so that's our presentation concluded. If anyone's got any questions or... Yep, I think I can see it. Got a question, Claire?
Just a sort of comment really, how good it is, I think, that the Youth Council are looking at body image. I lead on the North Herts Youth Action Group, and many of the service providers that come to that group have already mentioned that one of the massive mental illness problems that they're seeing amongst young people is eating disorders, which obviously is coming through following COVID and spending more time on meetings like this where you're looking at yourself and panicking about how you might look to other people. So I think it's a really good topic to look into a bit more deeply. So well done, Charlie and Lucy, and I look forward to seeing that report.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. It was a lovely. I very much enjoyed the end of the young people's input there, and I've got some comments on it myself. But the first hand I saw scooting up after Claire's hand to feedback on that was that of Councillor Billing of Hitchin, who's still on mute.
I am indeed. Somebody's got to make the idiot of themselves by still being on mute when they're asked to speak, and it's just as well it should be me. Thank you very much for those presentations. Particularly interesting to hear about the work that you're doing, the survey work you're doing on body image. But one of the problems about having old people at a meeting like this is that I can remember about 15 or 20 years ago, as a district councillor already, doing a piece of work on things for young people to do. I think there's an awful lot of posh jargon going around about the words we use, but that was about things for young people to do in North Herts. And we felt as a council then, as North Herts Council, that we were finding it quite difficult to get involved in ways that we wanted to work with young people in North Herts. And the sad thing is that 15 or 20 years on, it still feels a little bit like that. And it makes me want to ask really the youth service and the young people who are working with them, if what you're focusing on is prevention and early intervention, I'm not exactly sure what it is you're trying to prevent or what the early intervention is trying to intervene on, rather than just a whole bundle of interesting and fun stuff for young people to do. how can we get involved in making it a bit lighter maybe, and a bit more fun, and a bit more so that we can all talk to each other and not be in little sections? Sorry, that's a very complex question, Chair, and there's a lot of it, but just to get the ball rolling, really.
Laura, do you want to field that one?
So in terms of our prevention and early intervention, it is all young people can be vulnerable at any stage. So our work is about sort of trying to get to them at the right point to prevent them from escalating. So, for example, our Supporting You programme, which delivers the CBT techniques, that's aimed at young people at low level mental health, so not already under a CAMHS or seeing a counsellor, and our work there is sort of that low level, maybe a bit of anxiety some young people here might share, of sort of going to a new school or changing school, or especially with everything that's currently gone on, just that little bit of worry and sort of preventing that from escalating to other behaviours. So that's what we do in terms of the sort of prevention and the early intervention. And similarly with our work with young people that are perhaps on the cusp of getting involved with criminal exploitation or gangs. So it might be working with a younger sibling of somebody that's already engaged, or having that feedback that there's young people that might need a bit of extra support to divert them. And then in terms of our projects, I mean, hopefully Lucy and Charlie can comment on that, but we do, our projects are engaging and fun, because otherwise if it's all very structured and formal, then the young people won't want to engage. So we always are looking for fun ways of engaging young people in activities, as well as sort of the informal education that goes alongside that. Hopefully that helped answer that question.
Well, yeah, my other bit though was about how we can get more involved in engaging with you and the young people, so that we can all be doing stuff together. That seems sometimes to be quite difficult. Like, we're a council, right? And there's a youth council, and we'd love to be working with the youth council at our council in some way. That sort of thing.
So I think that's definitely something that can be explored as to how that might work and what that might look like, and different agendas. Sometimes that can be the challenge of with what's happening. But I mean, that's definitely something that we can explore and see. And it's great for Lucy and Charlie to be here tonight, and the other young people to hear that, and sort of hear that that engagement, that you would like that to happen.
I've been wanting that to happen for 20 years.
I would like to call the leader of the council, Councillor Elizabeth Dennis Harburg. Elizabeth, please go ahead.
Do you know what? Someday when somebody or me says that particular title, I might actually finally believe it. Hello. Firstly, I'm definitely gate crashing this meeting and using my leader's prerogative to do so, mainly because, as bizarrely, at the age of 35, I'm still one of the youngest council leaders in the country. Weird. Councillors under the age of 40, I think, are classed as being young councillors. Again, I find that particularly strange. So I think it's brilliant that we've got Charlie and Lucy and a number of other members from the youth community here tonight actually talking to us and sort of engaging and telling us what they want. But what I didn't necessarily get out of the presentations, and what I really, really want to understand a little bit more, is what the young people in this district, whether they're engaging through youth services or they're the friends of some of the young people that are here tonight, actually want from this particular local authority. What can we do to help engage with you to improve things? What would be, in Charlie and Lucy's opinion, meaningful engagement from North Herts District Council with the Youth Council? How can we help? How can we support you? How can your local councillors as individuals sort of work more in the communities to actually sort of engage and support some of the really great work that Laura's doing at youth services? I could go on about youth engagement in politics and community work, etc., for an incredibly long time, because I've been there, I've done that, I've lived that since I was obnoxious. I'm still obnoxious, since I was at school, but I shan't. I think my main question for Charlie and Lucy to answer really is, how can we engage better with you? What do you want this council to do?
Charlie and or Lucy to reply if possible, if you fancy it. Go ahead, Charlie, you've got your hand up.
So I think we feel that if we were to have more regular contact with yourselves at the council, we sometimes feel a bit detached, I think. And I think more social media engagement on things like Instagram as opposed to Twitter and Facebook, because I feel that more young people use stuff like Instagram. And yeah, just stuff like that. We also want to know why people go into counselling, because it's a really interesting topic, like why people choose to become counsellors and stuff. So I think just stuff like that.
So Charlie, I've got a question back to you then on this one. Why are you involved in the Youth Council? What made you want to get involved in that?
I really wanted to have my voice heard, because I felt like there was stuff that I was like unhappy with at times, and I wanted to be able to change that, and I wanted to be able to help like other people who like didn't know how to get involved. And when this opportunity came up, I thought it was quite a good thing to try.
Sounds like a cracking reason. I think similar to quite a few of us have got involved in being counsellors as well. I do have another question for you, Charlie and or Lucy, which I just want to throw in at this point on this subject. Now, I note that you meet weekly, which is more than we meet at the district council, which is really great you're meeting so often. Would you like us at the district council to get reports, or would you like to send somebody to tell us what you've been discussing so we can hear what you've been discussing in your meetings? Because I think I wouldn't be speaking out of turn to say that the district council would be really keen to hear what you guys are discussing. We'd love to hear from you more often. Lucy, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
I think that would be amazing. I'd love to hear what you guys say about what we speak about in our meetings, and it would be nice to have some feedback from you guys, and it'd just be nice to have our meetings heard, because there's only like around 5 of us, and I'd like to expand that. Yeah.
Well, I think we can definitely take that as an action point for future. I'm not sure who can action that, but I'd be very keen, and I'm going to go and talk, or I think I will go and talk, and I think the leader of the council's listening, and she's the group leader of the chair of the council as well. I think we can both go and talk to the chair of the council to make some time on the agendas of all of our council meetings to hear from the youth council, because we need to hear your voices. Moving on to somebody who isn't on the youth council, Councillor Sarah Dingley.
Hi, thanks so much for the work you're doing, Nora and Lucy and Charlie. That sounds really interesting, everything you're doing. I just wondered, for things like the body image project, how far you're engaging parents, because parents have much bigger influence on young people than schools. I think schools impacts in the region of a fifth of an adult, the home life and how that impacts on people. So just wondered about that.
Who'd like to take that one? Charlie, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Honestly, I hadn't considered parents' input on that. I think that would be a really interesting thing to look into more, because as you've probably gathered, we've been focusing very much on young people's voices, and as you said, parents definitely have an impact on their children, so I think it would be very interesting to look at.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Next hand in the air is Councillor Tony Hunter. Tony, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. My question is for Laura, actually, because during your presentation, and it's cropped up a few times, CBT techniques. Now, I know what it is, talking to young people about looking at their problems in a different way and their behaviour. But I wonder what sort of response you were getting, because I think when I was that age, if I had somebody coming along and talking to me, I'd respond in probably a very negative manner and probably would say, it's my business, not yours. But that could be because, like the leader of the council, I'm disruptive.
Yeah, so for that particular programme, it's an interactive programme. It's very much relying on the young people sharing their sort of personal experiences. So at the point of the young people coming along to that programme, they've either recognised themselves or they've been strongly guided by a parent maybe that that they need that extra bit of help. So the activities themselves are sort of like interactive and engaging, so that young people sort of perhaps engage at times without realizing that they are opening up and engaging, and us trying to find ways to help young people do that. So we do sort of like activities, for example, like the fizz scale, fizzing up a bottle of drink, and like, if you take the lid off while it's fizzed up, what's going to happen. So if you leave the lid on and you leave it for a while for it to calm down, what will happen? And so practical ways of talking young people through that, and practically, having a bottle and a bit of I don't think anyone's actually opened a bottle yet in a project, but I'm sure in the time of things that will happen. So yes, so it is about us trying to be creative and engaging, and not just sort of talking at young people, them engaging in what it is that we're doing.
Okay, Councillor Mandy Tandy, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much, Laura and Lucy and Charlie. It's been incredible hearing from you. And one of the questions that I had, just thinking of what some of the other councillors have said, just wanting to get more involved and engaged with what you're doing, was along the lines of a buddy system or a mentorship sort of program. I don't know whether you have anything going in that sort of way at all at the moment.
I think that's one for Laura.
We don't. I mean, we have sort of, I suppose there are different services for young people in terms of mentoring, but perhaps not in the sense of what you're talking about now. So no, that's not something that we have, sort of like a mentorship. I think with anything like that, it's just the consideration of sort of like a safeguarding and managing that as well. But yeah, it could be something to explore. So as you've heard from Lucy and Charlie, they're both sort of very keen and interested to hear, why you've gone on to become a counsellor, and and for them themselves might be something they'd be looking at in the future. And I assume for the other young people that have come today as well, perhaps you're a personal interest yourselves of something that you might benefit from.
I think this is a point where she's off camera at the moment, but Councillor Billing normally points out that she already does do quite a lot of mentoring work with young people, and I think all of the main political groups in North Hertfordshire all have people who are willing and available to go and talk to young people. Judy's back. Judy, do you want to say your normal bit on this? Judy's still on mute.
No, not again. Just to say that over the years, lots of us have done quite a lot of work, and I've been particularly keen to do work in schools. We used to do a lot more than we have done of late. And I think it's particularly interesting working in primary schools and actually getting to start talking about stuff like local politics as early as can possibly be done. And we've also had groups of young people into the council over the years to do some democracy, to do a bit of fun, playing at council meetings and making speeches and having votes and all that sort of stuff. So we have done it, but it's all over the last few years gone a bit quiet, really. And of course, the pandemic didn't help. And I can very, very strongly remember that almost the last thing that Ruth, as a deputy community engagement executive member, and I did in March 2020. Anybody remember March 2020? Just before lockdown, we went to a meeting of the newly forming youth council in Letchworth, just before we stopped being able to talk to anybody ever in person. And it'd be really good to start all that again. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Judy. So what I'm going to do now is don't put your hands down if your hands up. Keep them up there. I'm going to come back and start with Aaron after the next bit. But I think we are going to go to the next presentation now, because I think it would be nice if we could open up the floor to everybody after that presentation, because we've gone slightly off track of not just talking about the Youth Council and Herts County Council's work. And I think if we want to widen it out, it'd be really, really nice to hear from the next presenter, who are Samantha and Kim from the Imagica Theatre Company. So if they can go ahead, do their presentation, then I'll open up the floor and we can talk about everything after that. So so that's what we're going to do. So Samantha and Kim, I'm not sure who's going to start your presentation, but go ahead.
Hello, hopefully you can hear us. We're having terrible tech issues this end. So yeah, I'm Sam and brought Kim as well, and we're from Imagica Theatre, who are a local children's theatre company predominantly, but we've been expanding out from just working with children. We work with young people and adults as well. And we've come along to tell you about a project that we'd like to get up and running, which is about My Voice, Will You Listen? So it's a music video project that we want to get underway, which hopefully will engage young people 11 to 17 to create music videos. So with the introduction of lockdown and COVID, we've kind of expanded to going digital with our own work. And now we feel we want to share those skills with others within the performing arts as well. So we want the project to get young people to make their own music videos. They can use parodies of pop songs within that, or they can create their own. And then the young people that are involved working with us will work right from the beginning to the end production. So they'll create the storyboard, they'll do the filming, they'll do the sound recording, leading to uploading these to social media. Our aim is to give young people a voice for the current affairs and issues that connect to them, so that they can share them with everybody else. Like I say, there's a lot of people with things we want to say, but we're all not sure who to tell them and how to say it. So this hopefully will use the skills that we have with working in the arts to give young people a chance to really have a chance to speak. So to see how the issues that affect us personally, young people, locally, nationally, and on a worldwide scale as well. So we can sort of see, is it something that just one person is dealing with, or is it an issue that is much further in its outreach? We aim to give young people a voice while also supporting them on a holistic level. So we talked a lot about, I've heard a lot about this tonight, about giving a voice and also about well-being. So it's something that we focus on as well. So we work on a very positive way of working. So if there's an issue, we will always try and help turn that around to find out how we can find a solution, rather than just sort of sitting in the negative side, looking at emotions and things like that. We're hoping through the project we will be able to connect young people with other organisations and with counsellors and with all sorts of people that want to listen to what these young people have got to say, and to see that there is quite a big support network out there if we know where to look and find it. And that's something that's come up this evening. People are saying, you know, how can I help you? What is it you want my help with? So that's what we hope to get through this. And at the end of the project, which would be a pilot to see whether we can then roll it out, we'd want to do a showcase of some kind, so that then the young people involved will get an opportunity to showcase what they've done and to talk about the successes of the project. And yeah, to celebrate those successes, you know, with creating these music videos within this digital project, because we all spend a lot of time on computers and staring at tiny little phones like we're trying to do tonight, and communicate with people all over the place. So to give you a little bit of a background about us, Imagica Theatre are as a community focused theatre company. So we're all about getting arts out into the community, so that everybody can be involved in that. So we perform doing street theatre, we put on community events and things like that. We work with schools, community groups. We work with the SEN community, we work with them as well. And we're about 7 years old now, based in Letchworth, the company, not Kim.
No, not me.
No. We've both been working in the community arts for about 15 years now. I'm dance is my sort of where I came, the avenue I came in from, but we've joined together to do musical theatre is a lot of what we do, but we use parodies of pop songs, so we reach people rather than musicals written by other people. So we write our own musicals as we go along, and Kim comes in with the music side of what we do. So that's kind of a brief introduction about us. The pilot project, if we do run it, will last for about 4 months. So it would give us a chance to do a little chunk of working with young people to see what they've got to say, and then sort of just springboard from there to see whether we can do a larger project on that. And just to give you sort of an idea of the community work that we're doing on engaging with people, Kim will tell you a little bit about a women's project that we're running at the minute.
Yes, so we back last summer, we started an Empowering Women's project, focusing on professional arts training from us, and well-being, bringing women together. We were met with some problems because of COVID, so we produced this whole project digitally, which was a challenge, but we managed to get everybody singing and dancing on Zoom, and it was wonderful. And we felt it worked really, really well. So we're on our second go of this. So we're actually delivering all of this personally with people in person. It's so lovely. We're working on a singing project, dancing project, and we're actually bringing in well-being to this because this is so important, and that's part of what we would like to do with the music project for the young people, is actually bring in lots of well-being as well. It's not just hearing your voice, producing this amazing video and being really proud of yourself. It's actually looking after yourself as well. So we found that the women that we're teaching within the project that we're doing at the moment are really benefiting from things like EFT tapping sessions, from meditations, from journaling and free writing, and we've got lots of other things coming up as well for them, and we would love to introduce that because a lot of young people don't know much about that, so we'd love to introduce that as part of it as well.
Yeah, so we're excited about sort of bringing that into youth work. I've worked with youth services in my past experiences. That would go down well. And yeah, we know that we all spend a lot of time on computers now, so we might be on TikTok or Instagram or things like that, and we want to provide a way to provide saying that a lot, to engage positively with young people, so to give them a chance to get their voice out and be heard on issues that matter to them, and find out, like I say, find out what they are, because us older people don't always know what they are. I'm a mum of 2 teenage boys, and dragging any information out of them is quite tricky at times. But I know that they do communicate with each other a lot online, so you know, we feel we can tap into that, and yeah, provide holistic music video projects as a way of communicating. So I think that's about it, isn't it? Yeah. Hopefully we haven't rambled too much.
No, you have not. That's a fascinating project from my point of view. I'm probably going to get in touch with you separately after the meeting on a couple of issues. But what I'd like to do at this point is just open the floor to absolutely everybody in the meeting. Anybody, officers, members, young people particularly, just put your hand up and speak if you want to. And I'm going to shamelessly prioritize the young people over everybody else, because it's more interesting to hear from you than it is from everybody else. So the first hand I'm going to go that is up and has been very patient is Aaron. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Collins. I was just wondering, because like about these like support networks, like they're amazing, but like until like a few weeks ago, I hadn't really heard anything about these kind of support like networks that are in place, and like groups that can help develop in like the youth council. So like I was wondering what other people's thoughts are on how they normally like are got out to young people, because I know my school hadn't really told me anything about the work the council's doing, and it's like great work, and I'd love to like be involved with some of the projects. And yeah, and I know especially with like boys in like my year, there's kind of like stereotype with like going to youth groups, like, oh, you need help. Like it's kind of like, I was thinking of like a way to make it more like kind of informal and like online, maybe like come along for a drink with your friends or something. Just like wondering what other people's thoughts were on this.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Aaron. Does anyone else have a thought on that particular point or want to come in on that? Well, I saw Lucy and Flora's hands shoot up, and Charlie. I'm going to go to Flora first. Flora, go ahead.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, I completely agree. I was definitely thinking along like the whole kind of informal thing. I know it can be really hard, and especially with COVID and stuff. But just making things less formal, because that's what I would say that's what we're all used to. Like, yeah, kind of having things coming along, just kind of no pressure, not like every week or something. But definitely just being able to kind of get your views heard as well, and just kind of having chats with people and getting to know them, because I think that's everyone's really interesting, and that's the way you can kind of get your views across and find out information. Yeah.
Thanks, Laura. Lucy.
Going back to, I think it was Aaron, sorry, I completely forgot the name, about talking about boys joining youth groups and stuff. I think that it's quite sad because it has been stereotyped as like a weird thing for boys to go to that kind of stuff. And one of the things I really want to touch on is boys' mental health. But because we only have girls in our group, it's kind of hard to do that. And I would really like to see some boys in our youth council group, because I think like that would be really nice, and it'd be a different change of maybe opinions, and just it'd be quite cool. But I don't know how we're gonna do that, so that is something that we should probably touch on. Yeah.
Thanks. That's really, I didn't realize there weren't any boys in that group. So I think that's something we can probably help with as the council, help at least promote its existence, and work with Laura and her team as well, just to get the message out to more people perhaps. Charlie, you were the next hand up. So go ahead, Charlie.
Thank you. So as Lucy said, yeah, we're a group of all girls at Youth Council, and it does make it really hard to touch on issues that like boys' mental health. So we would love more people to come, and we would love everyone's thoughts on how to get more people involved, because that was one of our next big projects after the body image work that we're doing. We would love to go on a recruiting drive.
I think we can definitely try and help you there. It's something that I've worked on outside of my role as a counsellor in my other world, because I know that the leading cause of death for people, from young people up to my age, exactly my age actually, is suicide. So poor mental health is so important in young males in particular. So it's something we really do need to take some attention on, and I think we need to have a think about how we can help you build up the sort of, well, diversify your group essentially. But somebody who I know who's been gathering questions not just from herself but from other people in her group is Lauren from the 11th Guides in Hitchin. Lauren, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I think it's a really good idea to let people know that there is like a youth council, and because a lot of the girls in my forum, my friends, they didn't even know that Hitchin had a council or a youth council. So I think if like you spread the word, I think a lot of people would want to do that, especially people around my age.
Thank you, Lauren. Now, with no more young people's hands in the air, but if you want to speak again, young people, don't worry. Do just take your hand down and put it back up, and it'll scoot up to the top of my screen again. So if you do want to speak again, you'll be very welcome to. But the next hand I've got in the air is Councillor Ruth Brown of Royston.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. So it's been great to hear from the young people. It's just so nice to actually have so many young people actually talking to us about what they would like to see, and hearing about the great projects that are going on. So actually the question I had was the same as Aaron, but he got in there before me. So well done, Aaron. I was going to say, how do people know about this? How do we get the word out? And how can councillors help to do that? So and I just wanted also to respond to, I think it was Flora who said about informal spaces. So my church in Royston for 20 years ran an informal youth space, and it was basically anybody could come 2 evenings a week and just be, and they served hot drinks and snacks at cost price. There was a pool table and there were video games, and basically from that young people came up with projects and they facilitated projects for them to do. And it was really anybody could come and they could basically make it their own space and do what they wanted there. And then there was a little bit of there were some organized projects, but they were very much initiated by the young people, and then the people who were running it found the funds to help them to do that. So things like the idea of a music video project, those sorts of things. They did some art projects and some music projects and things like that. So quite hear what Flora's saying. I think it's and so my question really was around how do we widen the net? How do we get more people to know about this? It's interesting that Aaron hadn't heard of it, because and I just thought I didn't know anything about the North Herts Youth Council till I became a councillor. And the other thing I was interested in was the mentoring, because I did a little bit of that with some of the upper school students in Royston, and they ran it for a little while, but then it kind of died a death. I mean, it just sort of fizzled out. And it's something that I would love to do. And I don't think it has to be mentoring to become a counsellor. It could be mentoring in all sorts of ways. And, you know, I'm hearing a lot about mental health as well. I'm a mental health trainer. I've worked for the local Mind in Cambridgeshire for 5 years. And I would love to come and talk to young people about mental health. I run courses around eating disorders and all sorts of things. So I really want to know how we can help you, how we can get the word out and widen the net. So and just make it available to more people. So I think a question to Laura was, you know, are people referred into your service, or how do they hear about it? Because it feels like the net needs to go a lot wider. So can I just put that out there? So that's a question to Laura, but just really great to hear all the young people, and I want to know from the young people, how can we help you? How can we get the word out more?
Thanks for that, Ruth. Laura, do you want to throw us a quick answer on that one?
Sure. So yes, you can refer into our youth projects. So you can do a self-referral as a young person. You can do that online, or completing a form, or just dropping us an email or a text. So we've got lots of ways of doing that. And also word of mouth through friends. So some of our projects are particularly targeted to particularly vulnerable young people, but projects like Youth Council we're talking about today, you know, is open to all young people that want to engage locally. And again, yeah, they can just contact us and just ask to get involved. In terms of publicity, we do send stuff to school, but sometimes it doesn't always get past the person that you send it to. Everybody's very busy. So really keen to hear sort of like everybody's ideas, and especially for those that haven't heard of it or haven't aware of it, you know, where would you go to find out that sort of information, so that we can maybe try and get a better message out there. And as Charlie and Lucy said, you know, we do want to encourage all of you that have attended today, young people, you know, it's a little bit of a plug to get you to come and join Youth Council. You know, and that would be great, and that's how it will work, and just through word of mouth as well.
Thanks, Laura. And like I said at the beginning of the meeting, everybody, including the officers, is able to ask questions in this meeting. And we have a question coming from Louis Franklin from IT support from North Herts District Council. And he's saying, is there any way that we as North Herts District Council can help with informal gatherings, such as providing meeting places, open days, and places such as Brotherhood Hall? Well, we're fortunate to have both the officer in charge of all of the venues that we control, Steve Crowley, and the leader of the council, and she's had her hand up for ages, so I'm going to put the leader of the council on the spot, say, leader of the council, can we provide meeting places such as Brotherhood Hall for informal meeting spaces and youth organisations?
Oh, that's a really mean thing to do, and I'm going to look at Steve and watch what colour his face turns as I speak. In theory, I see no reason why not, and equally, if IT wish to provide us with informal meeting spaces, I'm sure there's a way that we can make that happen. Notice the vagueness there. I think perhaps, Chair, when you sum up today's meeting, those two might be points that you wish to put on the action tracker. Okay, speaking of action trackers, I'm going to almost do that thing that I would do if I was chairing and have chaired similar type panels to this. I'm hearing a lot of stuff and a lot of input and things that we can potentially do, but also strategic direction that people want to offer and to help support youth services at County Council with. So I am going to be that person, Laura, and I am going to put you on the spot and ask in a public forum, is there any way perhaps that, for example, the portfolio holder for community engagement at this council, or if indeed that position is deemed not adequate, maybe even the leader of the council could have a place on that strategic body, or at least receive direct reports, and we can work a lot more closely together. Because I'm hearing some really great things, and I take Aaron's point about youth groups typically being viewed as a bit weird. There might be something wrong with you if you go to them. Do you know what, Aaron? That's not new. That was the case when I was attending a youth group. Me and my brother went to one because it was behind the housing estate where we lived. And it was something to do after school while our parents were at work. There was nothing wrong with us. Well, actually, there's a lot wrong with us, but we'll get onto that a different day. But because we chose to go there, and there were some children and young people who went there who did have issues that they needed support with and working through, that stigma was then applied to us. So again, I think this is a point for Laura to maybe take away and have a think about how you can start to break down those barriers that have been there for, gosh, like at least 20 years, if not longer. On the diversity of the Youth Council, North Herts District Council itself isn't as diverse as we might like it to be, but we're slowly starting to get there. So again, like members of the Youth Council, please come and talk to us. We have got members of different ethnic makeups on the council. We've got men, women, different sexualities. Please come and speak to us, and we will do what we can to help support you and think about ways that, you know, we can all widen inclusivity and representation, because I think that a council really does need to be representative of the people it's supposed to be representing, doesn't it? I think those were my only additional points for now. I'm really sorry to have put you on the spot, Laura, but I do think that the strategy points are so important to getting things moving and to really starting to break down the barriers between us, between young people, between county, etc., etc. I say it in every place that I work. Let's not have silos. Let's work across the piece. Let's tackle those wicked issues, and actually let's work together to do the best that we can for our communities.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I don't know if Laura wants to mention that, but I think she's taken that and received it. And I think we'll pick this up after the meeting and make these things happen, because I think we are going to get some youth involvement in our council meetings. That's definitely something that's going on our action tracker for sure. And we'll just have to have a conversation with the chair of the council on that one. And I can see hands up from various young people, but I'm not sure if they're new hands or old hands. Flora, did you want to speak again?
Yes, please.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, people have sort of been saying about how to get the word out, and I agree. I think it's really hard, but I don't know how many people look at it, but there is a lot of stuff often on the end of school newsletters, advertised stuff there. And like it was mentioned earlier, definitely on just like every social media app ever, because I think that is how things are spread, and word of mouth as well. I know I just said it, but people do tend to kind of go, oh, everything's on social media, but it is also like we still talk to each other in real life. So I think that is important as well, just spreading the word throughout us. But just getting, so I'm part of how I got invited here was through the Queen Mother Theatre and the youth group we have there, Big Spirit. And it's really hard there to communicate as a youth group to the kind of older members of the theatre there. So we're trying to kind of figure that out as well. So I do agree that it's very hard, but maybe some sort of kind of newsletter advertisement type thing that can be shared throughout the community that everyone can kind of have an input on, that kind of different youth groups can put stuff on, and advertising other stuff. Something like that I think would kind of work, but yeah.
Flora, I'm going to put you on the spot because I'm going to ask all of the young people who speak now as well. So here's something for you, a question for you that's just coming from Claire Morgan. As I say, the officers are getting involved now, which is great to see. What social media platform or platforms is the best way for us as the council to communicate with young people?
I would say, I think it's different for everyone. I think everyone has like a different preferred one. I think Instagram is still kind of very popular with like across the board, like the most diverse amount of people, because it's so kind of, it's visual, but you have text there as well. And just, you can follow loads of different people on there, people kind of groups, people that you don't know, people that you do know. So I would definitely say Instagram. But yeah, that's my thought.
Thanks, Laura. Lauren, your hand is the next one up. Would you like to speak again?
Yeah, so I think it is like a way to get the word out about the youth council is like keep visiting schools, because I think that's really important. But if like show people that it's not like just sitting around and talking, that like, even though I don't know, it might be that, but show people that it's fun, because I know a lot of people I know would like hear the word council and think, yeah, that's going to be boring.
Would you say that Instagram or any other platform is social media? Which one would you say we should be all over?
I mean, I don't really have any social media, but I'd say like my friends do, and I'd say the thing they use most is definitely Instagram.
Okay, thank you. And the next hand I've got up is Lucy. And just before you go ahead, Lucy, just one point I'd like to make is I've just posted the link to the council's Instagram page in the chat. Now, young people, don't be afraid of being critical of it. Let us know what you really think of it, because we can't make it better if we don't know. So go ahead, Lucy.
Well, I was going to say, I think that one of the best ways to promote youth council or other youth services is actually through parents, because the reason I found out about youth council was through my mum, because she saw it on a newsletter, in a school newsletter, and I never read those, so parents read those, I guess. And I think because parents will tell their kids stuff most of the time, and they'll be able to, and if the kids are interested, they'll go to it. That's not always the case. And like the other people have said, just try and word of mouth and stuff. But yeah, I definitely think targeting a lot of parents could try and promote a lot of stuff. I don't know, but that's how I joined youth council. That's how I found out about it. So yeah.
Thanks, Lucy. Aaron, I've got your hand up next.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I agree with Lucy. I think parents can be a great way to get children to go to like places and young people, because like children, they may see something on social media, and yeah, I think Instagram would be a good way as well to get them to engage. But however, like children sometimes would just think, oh, I see it, but I can't really be asked to do anything, because there's kind of increasingly that attitude towards things these days. But a parent can like I know this is like, they can like encourage their child to go to this place, and like even though they may not want to at first, when they actually see what it's about, like having fun with your friends and like meeting new people, they'll enjoy it and like want to go back. So it's like about encouraging them. And on the Instagram page that you posted, I had a look on it, and I was thinking maybe if there were like to be places like to be promoted, like informal gatherings, I think it's kind of a bit more adult centered, that one. Like there's pictures of like wildlife competition and things like that. I just think if people saw, oh, North Herts District Council, I don't think they'd want to. If there was like a youth thing, if like there was a new page made for like youth council or something, that maybe that would entice them more. Yeah, so just a few thoughts.
Good thoughts, very good thoughts. I think there's some conversations going to be had in the next few days on that one. Charlie, your hand is up next.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for their input. I mean, this is really great. We really appreciate it. I agree with everything that's been said and some of the stuff that's been like put in the chat. So yeah, another platform that I know a lot of people use is Snapchat. I don't know if you can create like platforms on that for groups, but I know my friends spend a lot of time on Snapchat. So that would be a good one to use. And as people have suggested, creating a separate youth council Instagram page might be a good idea. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for that. I'm hearing I can see two new Instagram pages appearing, one from North Herts Youth or something like that along those lines, and one from the Youth Council itself. But that leads me neatly to Laura. I saw your hand scoot up a while ago. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to, so obviously listening to sort of the couple of comments, and as Charlie said, it's great to get to hear the ideas. But there are other ways that we also sort of like hear the views of young people that isn't just through Youth Council. So for us, for example, with the Housing Association Settle in North Herts, they engage with our young people at our Westmoreland Community Centre to get their views on what's going on locally and the builds that they're doing. And as well as through the Youth Strategy Partnership Group, we have sort of members there from the school, the ESC, who will then perhaps take stuff back to their students that perhaps don't want to come and engage in the Youth Council forum, as well as the college have got a youth or a young adult council, and also for many of you that hear, your schools might also have school council. So we have been trying to see how we can link up with them as well, just to sort of have a wider sort of like reach, but that it doesn't all have to sort of sit within Youth Council as well, how we can, or a central Youth Council, how we can better support that.
And Laura, I don't know if you've seen the note in the chat from Lauren from the 11th Hitchin Guides. She wants to know more about the Youth Council and how people can get involved, and so she can pass it on to her school and group. Could you get that information across? I think if you send it to one of our officers, we'll be able to get that out to Lauren pretty easily.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, can I do that?
Okay, thank you. And I know there's some work going on in the council, but I think the best person to talk about what's going on is the person who's got the portfolio, who's responsible for it, Judy Billing. Go ahead, Judy.
And what's going on in the council in which sense, Sam? Sorry. Do you mean the whole of the council, or?
In general, in youth, it's your portfolio, and I thought you'd be
well, kind of this evening and other things like this are what's going on. Just actually listening to young people and finding out better ways that we can engage with them than we have been for quite a long time, and particularly through the pandemic, which has made it very difficult indeed. I actually put my hand up because I was interested in what Ruth had said about maybe we need to change the name of the Youth Council to something less boring sounding, which made me think, well, maybe we should change the name of the council, North Herts Council, to something less boring sounding as well, to match that. But maybe that's getting a bit radical for one evening. So what we're hoping to do is have lots of really not boring local councillors going out into schools later this month to do stuff with young people about Local Democracy Week. That's something that happens every year. It seems to be mostly in October, and it's just an opportunity to talk with young people about what sounds incredibly boring, what happens in the council, but actually, since the whole of human life is what happens in the council, in terms of providing things people need, it's really useful, I think, to have conversations with young people about how we do that. We want to do much more of this sort of work that we're doing this evening. And so for me, this is a starting point to a new relationship, hopefully, with young people in the district. We've all got different bits of relationship with different bits of groups of young people. So when Big Spirit was mentioned earlier, I got all excited because I've had loads and loads of both children and grandchildren involved in Big Spirit. So to me, that's sort of home territory and something I know about. But there are lots of other things that you've talked about that you do that I know nothing about, and vice versa. So what we're doing is this, and this is the beginning. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Judy. And Charlie, go ahead. Your hands is the next up.
Thank you. So I was just going to say, I've actually attended a couple of the democracy events, and they were brilliant. I absolutely loved them. And I know Lucy came with me to a couple as well. And but we only found out about them through Youth Council. We didn't see them advertised really anywhere else. And I think I know quite a few other people who would really enjoy the opportunities that we've had. And I think, again, it comes back to advertising and reaching a wider group of people. But I think that would be something to consider when we're organising the next one.
Can I just ask, Sam, Charlie, were you at that big one we held in the council?
Back in October 2019.
Yeah, my goodness,
Yes.
that was a long time ago. And you thought that was good, did you?
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, brilliant. That's lovely to hear. I only asked so you'd say that. Thank you.
Sorry to butt in, but yeah, I was also there. It was really cool to meet you, by the way, Judy.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's really kind of you.
That's very nice. Modern form fan mail there for Judy. Well, as nobody else's hand is up, I usually do this a little bit like the end of an auction. Unless anybody else wants to speak, put your hand up now if you do. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which probably will take all of no time at all. Any hands going up? I don't see any hands. So I'm gonna move on if nobody wants to speak. Right, moving on to agenda item 7, which is the members' discussion. But I think in this format, it's unless anybody's got anything specifically procedural, and this is only for councillors, anything specifically procedural or wanting to add anything and have an entirely separate discussion to the ones we've just had, I will immediately jump on to the next agenda item, which is oddly number 9, not number 8. I don't know what happened to number 8. So I don't see any councillors' hands scooting up. So that brings us to actions arising and work programme. And I am going to ask Claire to lead us on this because my notes tell me that Claire's going to lead on this. Claire.
Thank you. I also I kind of need the support of Steve on this. Is he still? Because Steve's got the work programme.
Yeah, I think the key for this is for us to think about what has come from this specific meeting, and then we then put that onto the work programme. So the best way of doing it is when we get the minutes back, we will go through and then we will have those conversations with the relevant exec members to then look at what potential actions there are. So that's
one of the big main points I'm getting from this is that we really need to improve our communications with schools and parents, because young people get their information through schools, and getting counsellors into schools will be good, which we're trying to do. But historically, we've always had issues getting involved with schools because it's difficult to find the right teacher within the school. If you go to the school secretary, you sort of just get lost in a myriad of lots of emails that they get. I don't know, Laura Butcher has probably got better experience of working in schools than we do, and perhaps we might be able to team up on this if she can help us with contacts in some of the North Hart schools. And I know we are currently working on that. And the other interesting one is targeting parents and sending out messages on our social media, Instagram and Facebook, because I think maybe the parents are probably on both, to advertise what things that we want young people to get involved in, or encourage their teenagers to contact us. So people like Sam Huff, who's got 2 teenage boys who live in Letchworth, to find out what they think about the council and how they would want to engage and what things they want to see. So I think that's the 2 things I want to put on that work programme, is engagement with schools and parents particularly.
I think something else that would be good to add on as a work programme item is conversation with the relevant executive member and the comms team about social media and engagement with younger people. I think that's something clearly we need to take away that we're not doing well enough at as a council. And another item would be for either the relevant executive member, myself, or the leader of the council to have a word with the chair of the council with a view to having a regular slot for the youth council to present at full council on a permanent basis, I think. And that's a conversation that we need to have. Just want to highlight everybody to a comment that's in the chat from the leader of the council, Elizabeth Dennis Harburg. She said that anybody can contact her if they want to, particularly young people. Councillors are allowed to contact her as well. She's very responsive. But I think that would probably go for all of the councillors, certainly in this meeting, that we're all willing to talk to any young people who want to get involved in any way. And if you want to get our contact details, they're all on the council website under the councillors section, and you can find out how to contact us all. But Elizabeth is very open and will happily chat to all of you, and you don't often get the offer to talk to a leader of council about, well, much at all, to be honest, unless you are a councillor. Otherwise, I think, are there any, I know Elizabeth made a couple of points earlier on about things to put on the work programme, but I think those are already noted, Claire. And otherwise, unless anybody else has got anything they want to put on the work programme, I think we're getting to that point of the meeting where I thank everybody for coming to what was an absolutely fascinating meeting and has given us a huge amount of things to go away and get on with. And that's pretty much entirely down to all of the young people who've come along. So I'd like to thank you all personally for attending this meeting, and hopefully you're going to come back and we're going to have done something about all the stuff you suggested, and you can tell us if you've done it right or wrong as well. I'd like you all to tell us if it was good or bad, but we'd love to get you all in and get you all on board. And thank you so much to everybody for coming, and have a very good rest of your evening. I wouldn't recommend going out. It looks a bit windy and rainy again outside, so hopefully everybody has a lovely night, and thank you all once more, and I'll declare this meeting closed. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, everyone.